friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today to talk again about extracts, and today is more about real versus imitation, because I get questions all the time. How do I make a butter extract or a rum extract or a butterscotch extract? So I thought it'd be a good idea to explain a few things, like what an extract really is and why you can't actually make some of those extracts. And I'll be making an extract, a real extract today, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So first, let me explain the difference. We have to think of the word extract. What does that really mean? It means removing from, taking out of, and so on. So when you're buying something that might say butter extract or butterscotch extract or rum extract, it's not an extract because you can't extract those things. And I think it's just a common name that we call all flavorings, and it's really a misnomer. So there's a difference between a true extract and a flavoring that's most likely made artificially. So if you're buying extracts or flavorings from the store that are labeled as rum, maple, butter, caramel, butterscotch, then they're not actually extracts and they have artificial ingredients in them. Just make sure you read that package. Now, even when it comes to true natural extracts, such as an almond extract, it has an almond flavor, but it's not actually made from almonds. I found this out in the old video I did a couple of years back when I was making a whole bunch of extracts and decided I'm going to try making an almond extract, because some of the ones I made in that video were simply experiments, because that's usually what I'm doing, is I'm experimenting while I'm on video. And what I learned was, though the extract turned out good, it was the only one that didn't actually taste that much like what I was trying, the flavor I was trying to achieve. And it was because of that video that I learned that almond extract isn't actually made from almonds, but from kernels. Well, almond is a kernel, but peaches and apricots are all related to almonds. And then you have the bitter almond, and that is what's commonly used to make an almond extract. And we wouldn't imagine that, because we know that the kernels of peaches and apricots and bitter almond are bitter, but by the time they get the flavor extracted, the bitterness is gone, and what you're left with is that almond flavoring. So probably the next time I get peaches, if I really want an almond extract, I'm going to try it with the peach kernels. And yes, you can safely eat peach and apricot kernels. I have a video just on that I'll link to down below before people come in and start lecturing me on that. It's just like anything else. There's certain amounts that are actually good for you. It's large amounts you have to be careful of. So when we're talking extracts, typically they're not used in large amounts anyway. But I do actually eat peach kernels when I'm peeling those peaches and getting them canned up. If I have a seed that pops open, I will take the kernel out and eat it, because there's a lot of great health benefits in there. But anyway, check out that video for more information. And so it can still be natural and healthy. It just doesn't necessarily mean it was made from that particular thing. Same goes with anything that's a licorice flavor. Licorice flavoring rarely comes from the licorice plant. But the great thing is it still comes from a natural, very healthy plant, and that is your star anise. And that's if it's actually natural and not an imitation flavoring. It's called star anise because it's shaped like a star, and this has a very strong licorice flavor and taste, and I recommend stocking up on this. This is really good. In fact, star anise is the key ingredient they use in Tamiflu. So instead of buying that junk, just get yourself some star anise and start making some tea out of it. I have some videos about this and making teas using this. So what I'm going to do today is make a licorice extract that's also alcohol free. Most of your extracts are made with alcohol for a couple of reasons. One reason why is alcohol is really good at extracting, especially high proof alcohols, at extracting the flavors and benefits from your different herbs, fruits, and whatever it is that you're using to make that extract. It doesn't matter if it's a medicinal extract or a extract for flavoring. And that's one of the reasons. The other reason why is that alcohol will preserve it on the shelf for years to come, especially a high proof alcohol. It's going to give it a much longer shelf life. However, I have in the past, and I'm always updating and upgrading and finding better ways to do things, and I usually just invent my own methods. And for a while, I was showing people how to do an alcohol-free extract using glycerin, which you can do, and it is safe in limited quantities. It is actually natural. Well, you got to make sure you're actually getting natural glycerin, and I'd recommend using a vegetable glycerin if you're going to do that, derived from healthy sources. But an even healthier way that I've come up with is using honey. Now, my favorite way to make extracts involves using my own homemade wine. Half of this is one of the reasons why I always keep making wines and meads, is so I can use them for such things. And I have a video on the many uses for homemade wines, even if you don't drink. What I used to do is half wine and half glycerin, and then I switched over to raw honey. Now, raw honey is going to preserve your extracts for a very, very long time. I can't give you an actual date shelf life, but I know it'll last for years, because raw honey is indefinite. It has an indefinite shelf life on its own. Obviously, when you're adding other ingredients to it, that can change it. But what I found through my own experiments is that honey can still, even mixed with other ingredients, can still preserve, as long as it's still in its raw form, your different things, your extracts, your syrups, and so on, for years. Literally, I have an elderberry syrup that I made 3 years ago, and it is still good because I used raw honey in it. I still keep it in the fridge, but it has never gone bad. But because I know a lot of people are trying to get away from alcohol, two things you got to remember is, one, usually if you're cooking with it anyway, most of the alcohol is going to get cooked out. And what doesn't get cooked out, if you're using it as a flavoring and you're not just drinking it straight from the bottle, well, it's getting cooked into the food, and that food is going to absorb the alcohol when you're eating it, so you shouldn't have any effects. But I still know people like to be very careful, or they're trying to keep alcohol out of their house altogether. I get that. Or they're wanting to give it to children and they really want to be careful in that case. Then especially now that I have a grandbaby, when he's old enough to actually have honey, they usually say wait till they're even older, like a year to 18 months to give them honey, just, because of botulism, because that's the thing everybody uses to scare people away from stuff. But, we want to protect our grandbabies and our children, and so we're going to usually play it safe, and I get that. I am too. So anyway, I decided to try to find an experiment with what I believe will really work, is that the same thing, since you can make an alcohol-free extract using a blend of water and glycerin, and the water is only for the purpose of lowering the viscosity to make it more runny so that it extracts better, because glycerin is thick like a syrup. It's pretty much, that's what it is. It's a syrup, and it is naturally sweet. And so if water and glycerin can work that same way, why not water and honey in the same proportion? So what we're looking at is 3 parts honey to 1 part water. That would be the same if you're using a good food grade glycerin. 3 parts to 1 part. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. But before I do this, let me say one more thing. I forgot to mention some of these flavorings that people were asking about. And like butterscotch and caramel. You get that flavoring because it's actually an item you have to make from sugar, butter, and cream. That's how you make either butterscotch or caramel. I've made caramel sauce. I've made caramels before. I don't do it very much because it's one of my very favorite things. And I like it more than Patrick does. And if it's here, I'll eat it. So I just don't make it. Maybe one of these days I'll make the caramel sauce just to show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. Anyway, it does involve sugar, butter, and cream. That's what it is. And I think the difference is that butterscotch is made with brown sugar, where caramel is made with a white sugar. Of course, I use organic cane sugar when I'm doing that. So You can't extract that. The flavor is made through the cooking process of the sugar, butter, and cream. And then butter. How are you going to extract a fat? You can't extract it. So if you're have a butter extract, again, it has to be artificially flavored. And rum, well, most extracts are made with alcohol anyway, and I've made extracts using rum, because the one extract I still like to use spiced rum to make is vanilla extract, because the spiced rum makes the best vanilla extract in my personal opinion. I still like to mix it with honey though. It gives it that little bit of sweetness and cuts back on the alcohol content, but boy, it is good. So rum is already an alcohol. The flavor comes from how it's made and what it's made from. You can't extract rum from something. So if you're buying a rum extract, it's an artificially flavored whatever. Or you can just buy spiced rum and use that for flavoring. It just, that would make more sense than going through the trouble of trying to figure out how to artificially create a rum flavoring. There may be a way to do it using natural items. I kind of did a quick search and couldn't find anything on that to see if there's, just like where you can make an almond extract where you get the almond flavoring, but you're actually extracting that flavor from something other than almonds. Same thing like I'm going to do here. So let me go ahead and get going on this so you can see how I do it and how simple it is. Okay, so what I have here, and this looks really dark, I know, but this is that honey. I'm still trying to work through that old honey that used to be a lot lighter than this. Even though honey has an indefinite shelf life, if you buy it in a big bucket and you start working through that bucket and it gets exposed to oxygen, over time the honey will darken, and that's why it looks this way. And it also has crystallized. So I've already mixed it with some hot water. I added the water to the honey because I'm really wanting to keep it in its raw form, so it's still going to preserve this extract I'm going to make on the shelf without any refrigeration. So I'm not positive I have enough there to fill up this jar, but I'm not really concerned about that. I'm just, because this is just going to be an experiment that I will follow up on in probably a this and that video down the road. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with just a few of these. That's more than a few. Star anise, just like cloves, has a pretty strong flavor. So I really don't think I'm going to need that much. So I don't know. I didn't count them. What, I have maybe about 8 in there. So I'm just going to pour my honey water mixture over there. There's still some crystals in there, but I'm not concerned with that because they'll still dissolve in time, especially since once you start your extract, you want to shake it really well. And I recommend leaving it in a place where it's visible. Like I'll leave this out on the counter for a few days to a week, and every day, and the reason I say leave it out, leave it to where you can see it, or put yourself a note on your calendar or on a whiteboard or something that you know you're going to look at, so you remember to shake this every day for at least the first several days to the first week, especially if your honey, like mine, is a little bit crystallized. And then after that, I just put it back into my cabinet and forget about it until I need it, until I want to try it. Usually the typical time frame is going to be about 2 months for any kind of extracts. Now some stronger flavors like cinnamon, clove, and so on can usually be ready in a lot less time, and I would assume this would as well. But in my personal opinion, the longer you can leave it, the better, the more flavor you're going to get. There is going to come a point where it's extracted all the flavor it's going to extract, but I want to make sure it's going to get all that flavor in there. And then, even though I didn't fill this jar up, because I was just kind of guessing, I wasn't really sure how much I wanted to make. After about a month or two, when I taste this, if I decide it's too strong, I'll actually taste it sooner than that, because I like to get an idea. How's it coming along? How quickly is it extracting in the flavor, infusing into the honey mixture? And anyway, if I decide it's stronger than I want, then what I'll do is I'll just mix up some more of the same ratio of honey to water and then just top the jar off with the star anise that's in there, and then probably let it sit for another week or so. So again, this is just an experiment to start with. If you're interested in more on making extracts, I have several videos you can look at. Some of them are old, and my ways of doing things have progressed through the years since I started my channel. But I think if I have those in a series yet, maybe I should just do that. I'll go ahead and just put the playlist to that series or link you to the videos I think you'll find most helpful. So again, usually about 2 months is your average time, but there's nothing wrong with taste testing it along the way after a week, 2 weeks, a month, just to see how it's coming along. And I have made all kinds of different extracts using fresh items. Like fresh peppermint makes a better extract than dried peppermint, but most of my extracts are made from dried goods. I've made coffee extract, chocolate, orange, lemon, strawberry, cherry, all kinds of extracts, and of course vanilla, you know, the tried and true, lots and lots of vanilla extract, always on hand. All right, well, I hope you found this video helpful, and just understand, if you're curious how to make a flavor, think, is that something I can actually extract, pull out? If you can't, then it's likely, if something you're using is imitation, and you're better off just finding either a different flavor or just to make the item itself, the butterscotch sauce or the caramel sauce, or just buy spiced rum or whatever it is. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.